Today's story is called The Man Who Came Back. So Jesus was out with his special friends, the disciples, and they were making their way to Jerusalem. Okay, here's the city and the town with the houses in Jerusalem. Now, when Jesus was making his way, he could see in the distance, over in the hills, some men. Now, these men had actually been banned from living in the town with their families. Here's their families who were living over here in the town. And they'd been banned from living there because these men, if you notice, had got a skin disease. Now, in these days, there weren't lots of medicines that people could take to make themselves better. But this skin disease was something that was going to make people very poorly. So anybody who got the skin disease had to go and live out in the wild and be a bit like living like a homeless person. Because if they stayed in the town, they would make everybody else poorly with the disease. And so all of these men had to leave their homes and their families and go and live in the wild so that it would make them safe, make the families stay safe, and these people could live together knowing that they were poorly together, but they weren't making anybody else poorly. Now, this was very sad because, of course, all of these men really did miss their families, and all of the families really missed the men. But Jesus and his special friends, the disciples, came across these men on their way to the town. And when they got closer, the special friends started to pull back. They didn't want to get too close because they knew that if they got too close, that they may get the deadly disease as well. But Jesus was different to this. Remember, Jesus is a part of God, and so Jesus is full of love. Jesus also has God's superpower in him. And so Jesus knew that it didn't matter how close he got to the people with the disease, that with God's superpower in him and God's love that he had inside of his heart, he wanted to help these people. So instead of moving away from them like the disciples did, Jesus got closer to them. The disciples were looking a little bit worried. They carefully came behind Jesus but made sure that they kept their distance. As Jesus got closer and closer to the men called out and said, "Master, please help us. We have got a skin disease. It means we can't live with our families. Please heal us." Now, as we know, whilst Jesus was on this earth, he did some amazing things. And this time was no different. Jesus was about to do another amazing thing. Just in Jesus' presence, all of a sudden, the skin disease on the people, on the men, came off. It was almost as if it was by magic, which of course Jesus's or God's superpower is supernatural, which means that the impossible things happen. They couldn't believe what was happening. In no time at all, every single person had no skin disease left on their body at all. My goodness, these men were so happy. They were so excited. They started jumping for joy and calling out to each other. They were singing at the tops of their voices. They were so excited about the fact that they were free from the skin disease. Jesus said to them, "You can go back to the town now and show that your disease has gone and that you are safe to live back with your families." And so as quickly as they could, they ran off back to their families to tell them the very good, exciting news. But do you know what? As they were running off, something special happened. One man stopped and he turned back and he ran all the way back to Jesus. And he stopped and he took a moment and he said, "Thank you," to Jesus. And then he ran off to go and join the other men. Now, Jesus turned to his special friends, the disciples, and he said, "You notice, out of all of the men that I healed, only one turned back to say thank you to me." Now, I wonder what this story helps us to think about. I wonder whether all of the men should have stopped to say thank you to Jesus. They were so excited, maybe they just didn't think to stop just for that extra moment to say thank you. But I wonder what this tells us for our lives. I wonder if there are lots of things that happen where God looks after us, where he shows his love to us, where his supernatural power comes to help us with things that seem impossible. I wonder whether all of us do just as the man did. I wonder if we stop and take a moment to say thank you to God, thank you to Jesus, and thank you to the Holy Spirit.